Hello, Migle. Welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here today.
Hi, Katie. It's real nice to be here.
I'd like to start with you have your own business, VAMigle. You have a group of assistants working for you. How did you get this idea? How did it all begin?
Well, actually, it began quite a long time ago when I was still studying my bachelor's. I was studying a Bachelor of Economics, a totally different thing. I mean, there was nothing related actually with assistants or this type of admin work. And in like all of my groupmates, they were reading the book of Tim Ferris for our working week. So everybody was like reading it and thinking, oh, it's so nice, we should become business people and work very few and live somewhere, in Bali and the palms and things like that. And I was reading that book, and the only thing that I remembered from that book was the virtual assistants rule. Nothing else I remembered from that book, only that one thing. But it was like 15 years ago almost when I read and I got to know this existing some very I don't know, nowhere known role. And of course I was still studying, nobody knew about it, still the digital world was not that much prevalent, especially in Lithuania. So it just stayed there in my mind and I didn't do anything about it. Then I graduated my bachelor's. Then I started working in big corporations, and actually I started my career for being an executive assistant somehow. I don't know how. I just very well remember that I went to the interview after graduating of economics to the Ernst & Young big corporation, and I remember my that time boss, she was asking, why are you coming for this role? And I felt that she was like, what's wrong with you? You're coming for the assistant's role while all of your group mates are coming here as consultants. And I was like, but I still be very close to the finance because I'm here. It was an answer, I think, to myself, not to that lady or to anyone else. So I got the job, and this is how I think the whole career of my assistants started. Then I very well remember that whichever job I took, because it's still like I took that executive assistant role, I felt like, okay, this is not enough. And they said, okay, what do you want to do more? I said, okay, give me a little bit of marketing. They gave me a little bit of marketing tasks. Then I said, okay, still not enough for me. And then they said, okay, maybe you do want to do some accounting because we are doing the accounting for clients. Okay, give it to me. And I was still like, not enough, not enough, not enough. Then I thought, okay, I have to go for the master's. I went for the master's for marketing. I graduated my master's. It was still not enough. And at some point, like 5 years ago, I returned back from living in all parts of the world, from Finland to Crete to France to India. And then I knew that I'm at the position where I had a choice to either go to the corporation, really do that, like a regular career and climb the ladders, or I can just pursue my dream, which was still there in my head, of that becoming a virtual assistant. And I read what really triggered me to start. I read a blog post, I think, of a very successful virtual assistant who built a whole kingdom of virtual assistants, and she was charging, I think, around 6,000 euros per package per month for one client. And then I thought, okay, there is something here, and it's not that degrading to be a virtual assistant. Probably it can really become a business. And then I just started it out. So yeah, it was 5 years ago when I really made the first step to find my first client. But it was 15 years ago when it came into my mind. So it was a very long journey of becoming and building what I all have.
And it all began with Tim Ferris and reading the 4-hour work week.
Yeah.
What did you mean when you said that you felt that it wasn't enough, when you were given all these tasks and you wanted to learn the marketing and then you did the marketing masters? What do you mean when you say you felt like it wasn't enough?
I don't know if you or the people who are listening, they know Marie Forleo. And I really love what Marie Forleo calls multi-passionate. And this is like a term which I can definitely describe myself. I'm such a multi-passionate person. I never want to go really deep in a thing, but I really want to do a lot of things. Like lots of things are all the time interesting me, and I want to try something new. I want to meet new people all the time. I don't know. It just at some point when like I'm for some time doing one task or like I'm in one position, it just feels that I want something more than this. So this is what I all the time felt, that, okay, it's okay. It's kind of interesting, but I would like to know something more. It's kind of okay, but I want to know more people, like, or I want to learn. So I kept on learning, I think, in a sense. And this is what happened when I started my virtual assistants like role and journey. It felt enough. It was the feeling of fulfillment that this is enough. I feel fulfilled. I'm working with like 5 different businesses. I'm doing so many different tasks. It was such a good feeling actually. So yeah, this is what it was, no, inside that like it's not enough. It's not enough. I want more. I want more.
It's wonderful that you actually found that feeling when you started your own business, that you had that feeling of, this is enough. I am fulfilled. I'm satisfied. And I can definitely relate to the multi-passion. I am extremely like this. This is one of the reasons I study focus extensively, is because I am by nature extremely scattered. So I've learned to be a lot more focused, but I love having a lot of different projects and passions. So I can relate to this. And so what happened when you started your business? How did it all begin? And where do you help your clients most?
Well, the beginning was not that easy. I think that it's probably, I was lucky because probably, I had the support from my husband, who was like, okay, we'll arrange the bread, and butter, and you can pursue this thing at least for some time, and we'll see, how it will go. So I really got lots of support, like, who pushed me, and it was really, really like helpful in starting this. This is my journey. So yeah, I'll just sorry, quit all of my other apps. So yeah, it was not easy because I kind of I studied economics. I was working in a corporation, but I never had a real business experience. And when you're starting your own thing, you have to learn to sell, to network. It's like absolutely different thing. You have to really get out of your comfort zone a lot of times. So the beginning was just when I started, shouting out to everyone. I wrote emails to the groups that I was belonging. If I was like in a dance group, so I wrote to all of the, the people who were in that group, saying that, hi, I am becoming a virtual assistant. If you know anybody who needs that, let me know. And I wrote to all of my group mates, all of my ex-colleagues, everyone. I just started like shouting to the world that I am becoming, and this is the journey that I am pursuing now. And it really worked. The first client of mine was my groupmate from the same economics when I was studying. He said, Migle, I'm really fed up of booking those flights every Sunday, sitting with my wife on the couch. I instead would be like eagerly watching a movie with her, but I have to book flights to London because I'm flying back and forth so many times. So would you be able to do that? And I said, yeah, of course, that would be really, a great start for me. And this is exactly what I can help you with. So this is, that was like a very organic, I think, beginning for me. And the whole journey, how it went of the services, in terms, of the services that I provide, it was with also, again, lots of, ups and downs. I really tried all of the different stuff. I tried to niche down. I literally screwed up with niching down. I realized this is not for me. Then I like had to redo my website 3 times because I want to keep on changing the services that I provide. But at the moment that, okay, and now I know that we provide exactly these type of services. We provide admin and personal assistance. We are providing the customer care, and we're providing the project management, like helping for you in the project. These are exactly 3 things. When somebody comes and says, maybe you can help us with the sales, I said, if you want sales, I can give a contact to my sales partner who can help you with that. Do you need social media? I can give you with that, but we are not doing that. We're not there. So now I know where I am, where I'm not, but it took time. It was a journey. It really was a journey.
Yes, the whole niching down perspective is always interesting. It's always a journey, like you said. I think that's the best way to put it. And why do you feel that it's important for people to delegate, to outsource? Why do you think it's important? How do you think it actually helps them?
Well, now I see already from my clients, those people, because what I really realized that the people who I'm working with, the majority of them, they started their own business out of their passion. Usually, it's like, I really like this. This is hard, hard-based business. It's kind of, that you start from really what you like. So then you really adore what you are doing, right? So you really put all your effort, and it's very, very difficult then to start delegating the things, because you think that you are the only one who knows everything. It's very different with the big corporations, and when you already have the support of different departments and things like that. This is not like my client, and this is not the people who really need that understanding of like outsourcing and I think and delegate. But what the majority of the things I noticed that it's possible. Yes, you can do everything as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, but everything that just stays in your mind so much, right? But once you start outsourcing even the smallest tasks, like, sometimes it's enough to outsource something that takes you 10 minutes a day, and it reduces from your head, like, I think, hours of thinking that you have to do that thing. So it's not only the thing that you outsource, it's more like freeing up the space in your mind to really focus on what you really want to do and what you really have to do. So I always say, like, if there is something that it's not necessarily you who has to do it, just outsource it. If you like it, it's okay. If it's your thing, if you really like, I don't know, posting on social media, that's fine. If that's your thing, do it. But I'm sure there are so many things which you don't like, and you just, you procrastinate because you know that you have to do it, but you don't like it, and you keep on like pushing it forward. So definitely, like, I mean, just start with a small thing and like slowly taste the real the real gourmet thing of outsourcing, and definitely it will free up, first of all, your mind, and then it will appear into your freeing up your time in real, and then definitely it will affect the way you scale your business, because this is the whole, I think, process. This is where it starts. You can't do it all alone if you want to scale. If you want, if it's okay for you just as it is right now, that's fine. You don't need, it's okay, you can go with it like this. But if you want to grow, if you want something more, you have to have, I think, people in your team.
Yes, all begins with clearing the mind. I like how you say that. And then having more time. And from that extra time and mental space, you can grow and scale. And I'm working with you, Migle, with your assistants, and I can definitely testify that it has made a huge impact on my business. And just having that mental space, it's exactly how you put it. It's not a matter of specific tasks or things that are very complicated. Is more little bits here and there. So actually editing this episode and putting it on the platform is done by Justina, my wonderful assistant that's part of your group. And this makes such a difference to, me doing more podcast interviews, because for each podcast interview I do, it doesn't take me that extra amount of time to edit it. So this is just one of the examples. What other ways do you think it can help people to outsource? So how can people overcome this fear of like it not being done their way or not being perfect, to actually think, okay, this is what they need and this is how it can help them?
Well, I think, anyone who at all tried, first of all, work with more people. Like if you worked ever with like, you had the team, you had like somebody always helping, it for them, I think it's really obvious that once you have the people around you, it's so much easier, right? And it's not always why I know it's like virtual assistant wise, like so good, because when employing a person, you have to be so much, strong where you stand that, because you become so much like engaged with that person, like so much accountable to that person. It's not that, it's like, that if you probably, you have to like something changes in your business, you can't be that flexible. So it means that, if you have to fire that person, then you destroy those people's lives and things like that. But when you're like outsourcing, it's still kind of, I believe that when outsourcing and when you're working as a partner, nobody is like dependent on anyone. This is what I love about outsourcing, because even a virtual assistant, even it's like if you were not outsourcing to an agency, if you were just outsourcing to a person, right? Even that person, he or she is dependent on himself or herself. He's totally, on himself. So this gives you freedom to really, take that decision, because it's kind of flexible. It's not, that puts you like for 1 or 5 year contract or something like that. So, it just started out. I always say, start with the really small things. It's not that difficult just to, try to, take for a few hours per month a virtual assistant and start just little by little outsourcing, and it little by little grows, and you really become addictive to then I think delegating the things. But on the other hand, what I also want to mention, that it's not always the outsourcing and having whom to delegate to, it will free up time for you to do more. Maybe it will also free up the time for you to do less, right? Maybe you need more just time for yourself. Maybe you need more time to your family. Maybe you need for other things. But that's very good also to answer for you before you start delegating tasks. What will you do with your extra time? Will you want to focus more on business and just like growing in more, or you want to spend that time with your like family? Because only then you'll feel the value, because you'll just start delegating, but probably you'll just procrastinate even more because you'll have more time to procrastinate. But if you know what you're going to do with your free time, it really helps before starting to delegate.
That's a good point about the free time. And I love what you said about it becoming addictive. There was definitely a time a few weeks ago where I took out my journal and wrote, okay, what else can I delegate? And I was brainstorming about all these things I could, send to Justina. So I think it does become addictive because we see the results and we see the time that it saves us. And it's a really valid point what you said about thinking, what will we do with that extra free time? And I think saying that it's not necessarily work hours, but more free time or maybe more reflection time. I know that this is what I like to spend time on. If I have extra, hour or half an hour, it's really great to be doing more thinking time compared to be doing all the manual work, click, click, click all the time, or meditating on these types of activities. You mentioned in the form for the podcast that you feel that delegation helps people to be more mindful. I think that's a really great way of putting it.
Yeah. One more thing that I just remembered when you were talking about that, when it's not only about doing right when you're sourcing, when it's about that your virtual assistant is doing the task, it's also, I noticed that the business owners, entrepreneurs that we like, whoever the clients that we're working with, they become more accountable, right? Because if you know that you have to, for example, give the invoices by 10th of the beginning of the month, right? Then you have to do it because there is somebody who is doing on the 11th all those things. So it kind of puts you in a system, and it really helps you to, not to procrastinate on things and to just feel accountable in front of somebody else. It's not, because it's very difficult for us to be accountable for ourselves. But once there's just somebody else, it's also good. I even heard somewhere, I don't remember where, but I think it was a podcast where they were saying that, in order to really accomplish a project and your task, you just have to share with somebody. So even if it's your assistant, get an assistant and every month share what you're going to do. And then it will probably by 50%, it will increase the probability that you will accomplish all of those things, just because you'll feel accountable to somebody else who will after a month ask, so how are those projects? Did you accomplish them? Did you do them, right? So even in that sense, I see so many ways that you can use your virtual assistant.
Yes, and this is really, really true. I mean, the accountability, I definitely felt it, because I would say, at the end of the week, I'll be sending you this, that, and the other, or these are the amount of podcast episodes. And once you say it, you think, oh, I must do it. I must do it. So it does help you gain momentum. And because I also believe that outsourcing and delegating is great. So I'm also going to say all of the amazing advantages. And it helped me put in place better processes and structures, either because Justina gave me feedback, or while I was sending her different things, we put a better template together for the podcast. Now it's all like beautifully structured. And I think it's ongoing improvement because there's another person involved, and that gives you also other ideas. So that can be extremely helpful. I think it's great to have the extra accountability. That is powerful. And you even asked me on our calls because we have a monthly catch up. How's my book going? And how is this and that project? So it's like multiple accountability, nowhere to hide.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I mean. It's not only when you think about somebody else, it's not only about that person, will post your post on Instagram or social media, or will do like some research. It's not only that, it's so much more than you can really get, and the value that's gonna receive, I think, from that person.
Definitely. And what was it about Tim Ferriss's book? What was it that he said that struck you as so important? Why did it give you this spark and this idea for virtual assistants?
Well, I think that I noticed that I'm the person whom I was always striving for something interesting. I have this in myself, that I want something interesting in my life. And maybe that's why I'm married to an Indian, to have an interesting life, like somehow, like it just happens in my life that I keep on myself putting in some interesting situations and environment. And I think with virtual assistant, it was something really new and something really interesting for me, because it was like so much unknown. And this is, I think, was one of the things that pushed me through that, because I never do anything what everybody does. It's always when I see that, okay, everybody is doing that, it's not my thing. Even though I know it works, it's like, it's the same with like this niching down. I know it works, I know it helps to scale, I know everything, but I just don't want this way to go. It's like it was like that. So I think it was the same with a virtual assistant, that it was like, okay, it's something new, something interesting, I want to check it more. And it was for so long so interesting, especially like for the Lithuanian market. Yeah, in US, in UK, and even in Asia, I think it's like so much this industry grew, but not here, not in Lithuania. So I really felt there is a potential that I can spread the knowledge, I can spread the word, and I can be the pioneer of all these things. So it's it boosts me up. So I think this was the thing that really caught me.
Love the part about you saying that it was something interesting and different. That's it. That's like a very special fact, really, to think that, okay, this is interesting and different with so many unknowns is almost the definition of, out of your comfort zone. Like it sounds interesting, but there's so much unknown, and most people shy away from it. Most people run away, and you're like, that sounds good. Let me do this.
Yeah, exactly. Have you read this book, by the way?
I listened to a summary of it. I've read others of his books. I've read, Tools of Titan and The 4-Hour Chef. No, I started that a bit, but I do want to go through a sort of Tim Ferriss phase and just read all of his books. I'm like, I like the Tools of Titans and Tribe of Mentors, because you can see different perspectives, and he asks the same question to so many different people, and you can see how often they mention meditation. You can see how often they mention, yes, eating healthily or exercise as a keystone habit. And when you read this over and over again, you think, there's a reason why people talk about this all the time.
Totally. But on that topic, I remember it was a very fun and very stupid, some TikTok or reel or something like that, where there was like this exactly saying that, there was a rich guy, and he was saying, so what me as a rich guy morning routine is, and then it's like meditating and eating healthy and going for a jog and reading a book and this and that. And in the end, he says, but what really made me rich? Really working hard. So I really loved it, because it's nice on the side to do all those things, but come on, you just really have to work your ass off sometimes. You want to achieve the thing.
Yes, you always have to work hard for sure. But I think having all these habits in place, having the exercise and the meditation, eating healthy, makes it easier, I think, because it gives you that energy, it gives you that mental space, gives you that motivation also on the days where your mindset might not be as well. And also sleep. I've been, reading a lot about sleep. And I think that if we're sleep deprived, like making decisions clearly or having that motivation, I don't know. I think my mood and my aptitude for work is really diminished when I don't get 8 hours sleep. So that's my
total. I totally agree with that. Totally here. I totally agree with you.
So coming back to the whole virtual assistant and the outsourcing and the delegating, what would you say to people who are on the fence, who are sort of hesitating about getting a virtual assistant, but they can see the advantages of delegation, but they're not 100% convinced? What would you say to them?
Well, I always say, start with the audit of your day. and really, really know where you are. Because it's easy to think that, yeah, I can do it myself. Yeah, I just need maybe more of like structuring my day. Or yeah, from Monday, I'll definitely do that, or things like that, right? But once, you can see black and white how your day looks like and what tasks you really do and how much time you spend on so much invaluable things. When you see that, okay, I was doing these like admin stuff for 4 hours today, when I could make 4 more consultations, which cost 100 euros per hour, I just stole from myself 400 euros. And I was still working, right? Okay, if I would be like on the beach laying, it's still okay. Probably I would accept that. But now I was just working, using my brain and my all the what I accomplished in my life and like what I know for doing these things. Why should I do that? So I think the first, when you are really doubting, evaluate your day, audit your day, know where you're spending your time. And once you see the figures, then it's so much easier, I think, to make the decision, because then you know what you're gonna get. Because yeah, sometimes, oh no, I don't know, like this much money if I can really spend. But sometimes it will be just, you'll just need to sell 1 more consultation and this whole month of your virtual assistant will pay you back. So really, do you want that or not? So yeah, this is, I think, the first thing would be to audit your day and evaluate and see what are the priority things that only you can do and where is your value, and what are all of the rest of the things that you can really easily delegate to somebody else.
Yes, this is definitely in line with what I feel about the zone of genius. So spending all of your time and hours in the zone of genius. For those who don't know the concept, it's the work that you enjoy most, but also where you're the best at it, and not get stuck in that zone of excellence, which is you quite enjoy it, you're very good at it, but it's not really what you love most. I think so many people get stuck there. So delegating, outsourcing, having a virtual assistant is a wonderful way to optimize your time and spend so much more time and energy in the zone of genius. Brendan Burchard talks a lot about this. Many people talk a lot about it. It's a great concept. How do you feel about the zone of genius, the zone of excellence? Do you feel you spend most of your time in your zone of genius?
No, not at all.
You wish.
I wish I was, and like also like it's another thing, it's I always believe that very often there's a big misconception when you see other people, and I hear sometimes my friends calling me, oh, the queen of productivity and how you do all of things. I know so many things how to do it right, but there are so many things that I'm not doing it right. And that's very normal. So of course, there are many things that myself I'm doing, and I know that I'm just wasting my life doing those things. But I think that the first step is to understand that, right? Okay, now I was doing it for a very long time. I'm not regretting it, and I was doing it. I really learned a lot. But now probably, okay, it's the time slowly change and shift. So, really realize where you are and when you can start like slowly do by making small steps towards it. So this is the way, it's whatever difficult for me it is, but because I'm so much result oriented, but I believe that everything is in a process. And I think that I'm so much afraid of really something, achieving really something really big, because at that point I'll feel helpless, because so what's now? It's lost, right? I think I love this feel of struggling and doing and like all them pushing forward and things like that. So maybe that's why also like I'm trying to push myself a little bit out of that zone of genius to be where you really are not perfect and you're not really good at, and keep on learning. So yeah, but I totally agree with that concept, and I think that it's good to move towards there, because it's not, I think, a one day thing that you can say, from tomorrow I'll do like that. No, it takes
No.
time to like slowly move there, and yeah, and maybe you will never get there, but I think it's a process.
Yeah, let's not say they'll never get there. That's too discouraging, but at least get to a stage where you spend more time in the zone of genius. And I can totally relate with what you're saying about sort of wanting this to struggle somehow, because it provides some sort of variety, and it provides this sort of feeling of growth and progress. And somehow if you achieve that really big goal, then okay, then you have to think of another really, really, really big
Mm,
goal. And
yeah.
yes, I can relate with that. But I think there are other ways to provide this sort of struggle and variety without always just being in the zone of excellence. So
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
nice. Well, it was so great to have you on the show, Migle. If people want to get in touch with you, if they want to find out more, if they want to hire an assistant, you've convinced them, what is the best place for them to reach you?
Well, I really love LinkedIn, so definitely you can find me on LinkedIn, and also email is a great. I'm quite approachable. I really like. I think that I am everywhere. I hope that I am everywhere, and I always share my telephone numbers, and I mean it's easy to text to me if you want, or yeah. But if I think the easiest and straightforward, so it's just on LinkedIn, and you're gonna find me there.
Amazing. Thank you once again. It has been wonderful to have you here, Migle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure to be here.